And welcome back, Anthony Mars Jr. on PR Lost Galaxy 2014 podcast episode number 205, presented by PR Lost Galaxy 2014's Facebook page, my Instagram, and also use hashtag Anthony Mars Jr. if you will, or feel free to, and my Morphin Megaverse Power Rangers Facebook group. Haven't seen them? Check them out now. As stated earlier back in my vlog announcement, I said I will begin production on the fan film remake of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy: The Rise of Trakeena, a fan film of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy I've been working on since, well, like I said before, and I can't believe I I'm making this video at the same time when I initially began what I said would possibly be my redemption piece in terms of Power Rangers fan films, and going and harkening back to 6 years ago when I wanted to do this film before, but after 6 years of meddled controversies, behind the scenes tumult, I feel like it is time that I finally got back on my feet to work on this film. And at the same time, when I began the fan film entitled The Rise of Trakeena. But if you guys are going to be mistaken by the title of that, the meaning of rise in terms of that is, this is actually more like where the Power Rangers will face Trakeena's wrath. This isn't going to be no origin story about her any means, because everyone who has watched Lost Galaxy, as well as for all other Power Ranger seasons, including that, have already known what Trakeena was. This is more like an alternative pick-me-up kind of story of what it means of seeing a villain who was so damn evil to be extremely powerful some many years or so on in another parallel timeline within the Power Rangers universe. Now, I'm not going to treat Trakeena like she is, like, let's say, Venjix from RPM, or let's think of another one, Vrock from Megaforce, or what's another one, Daishi from Jungle Fury. She's nothing like any of those villains, because by the time when villains like Vrock and Venjix were around, Trakeena was already dead within the Power Rangers franchise. Within the series, after what happened in Lightspeed Rescue. And we know the behind-the-scenes controversies with Amy Roll, who was Trakeena's original actress from Lost Galaxy, and we know the same stories being told over and over and over again, because Amy Roll has already explained this to fans, even back at Power Morphicon, like twice, about why she didn't reprise her role, even though it was stated through multiple pieces of information scattered around Trakeena, and as well as her original actress, even on the Ranger Wiki, and even other sources, including her IMDb. So we know these stories and we know why, and I feel like I need to realize Trakeena's Revenge was just a team up. Sure, Amy didn't reprise it, but I might as well have to take the team up for what it is. Even hell, once when I get Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, the complete series on DVD, I'm just going to have to accept Trakeena's Revenge for what it is. I mean, sure, it wasn't the best of efforts for a team up with Lost Galaxy with another team that isn't the Space Rangers, but I just got to roll with it, even if it's just an episode where it's Carter and, the little girl stuff. So, or just having the Galaxy Rangers having less time and Leo being voiced not entirely completely by Danny Slavin in terms of ADR, but someone like Christopher Glenn, who was a stand-in voice actor for ADR work throughout the crossover. Well, actually, when I do the Rise of Trakeena, there will be some callbacks to the behind-the-scenes tumult surrounding Trakeena's Revenge from Lightspeed Rescue, but not entirely. You see, when I kept complaining about how much I hated Trakeena's Revenge, and even back, if you remember watching my Ranger review video that I did at the same time when I did my my series retrospective video on Lightspeed Rescue last year, well, this time of, day last year, last January, I did say some hateful things about Trakeena's Revenge, because, yeah, there were some really asinine, dumb moments in that episode. Like, eponymously, that line from that old lady telling Heather there's no such things as monsters line. We know where that came along. Or what about the part when when the Rangers had Heather pull the fire alarm to evacuate the civilians inside the building? Yeah, we know that wasn't a good idea. We know those moments weren't great, or not even moments when we even saw, yeah, I know, but let's face it. Suppose if this was a different team up. Suppose if Trakeena wasn't in the team up with the Lightspeed and Galaxy Rangers, if it was just Tri-Skull. I know Trakeena is a fan favorite, but suppose if, just imagine back 16 years ago when we had Lightspeed Rescue, when we had their crossover with the Galaxy Rangers. Suppose if she wasn't there and the little girl that was seeking Carter's help wasn't there. But no, we can't see that. So here we are 16 years later, and I really want to do a fan film of Lost Galaxy, but in an alternative dimension, where I depict Trakeena entirely different from her original counterpart. This is something I've been longing for since 2010 when I worked on this film. I really wanted to depict Trakeena to be different from her original incarnation from the show and her time when she was encountering the Lost Galaxy Rangers. So basically, this is going to be in an entirely alternative, perspective points of how she encountered the Power Rangers and wanted to destroy them, and as well as bringing much hell to the Red Ranger. Because knowing that in the series, the Red Ranger is her enemy, because when she recruited Deviant and Villamax and Kegler on her side, following her, the death of her father, Scorpius, she believed the Red Ranger, well, according to Deviant's appointing of, in terms of what he believed, what he saw the Red Ranger do, that the Red Ranger did destroy Scorpius. And thus, this is why Trakeena and the Red Ranger remained enemies until the series' end. And I think this is one of the few things why I liked that Lost Galaxy was the rivalry between Leo and Trakeena. But the Red Ranger I have in my fan film series isn't Leo. Even though I have a character who's a doppelganger of him, but isn't really Leo Corbett. It's Tony Marshall. Yeah, even though he wears the same attire that Leo had back in Lost Galaxy's later half, but stick with the details. It's not like I'm going to treat Tony like he is Leo's son or anything 20 years later and within my fan fiction timeline of Power Rangers or anything. But I really don't want to say, because there is no pride connection between the two. So yeah, basically, I wanted to, after waiting so long to reimagine the character, I've been wanting to do a version of Trakeena that I feel some people may not feel comfortable with. When I complete the fan series, the fan films as serial episodes preluding to events that you will see in this movie, there's going to be something I have to admit that you guys are going to think I'm going to take a lot of homages to her when she was, played by Amy Roll again, but knowing that Amy Roll is the only person who pulled off the character well. But it seems like when you see somebody else who has never been on Power Rangers or never even heard of Lost Galaxy or watched it or even heard of Trakeena, and they'd be like, who is this character? I mean, sure, we've had a bunch of other female villains of certain species and themes and aesthetics, but bug-themed characters, they seem to not get that much attention. I mean, whenever I have somebody in the fandom say, like, Astronema is more hotter than Trakeena, or Nadira is hotter than Trakeena, or Tanaya 7 is hotter than her, or Camille Camille is hotter than her, or even Divatox. It's like, it can be a little bit of a turnoff for someone who gravitates to Lost Galaxy. Maybe it's because I've gravitated to the season for now 17 years as of 2016, because it's been something that I've gravitated to for so long, because I liked it. Again, as much as I've said this over and over, the reason why I liked it, Lost Galaxy, is because I liked the things it did. I even liked the stories it told. I even liked some of the highlights and moments of the season, like, about the whole Corone being becoming the Pink Ranger in Kendrick's posthumous absence. Even the Villamax stuff. I mean, the whole Villamax and Trakeena stuff. Training her to be a more fierce warrior like she promised stuff. Liked that. I even liked the Magna Defenders' story. And there was and so much other stuff in that series that I liked about it so much. Because there are so many things about the series that made me so enticed with it. I mean, You can say what you want about the series. I mean, if I were to go and say I don't like the stuff that Turbo did, or I didn't like the stuff Dino Thunder did, or I didn't like the stuff Time Force did, then you'll be thinking you only gravitate to a season of Power Rangers where it's a bunch of Charlie Brown Rangers and a bug, and a bug chick with, who has, daddy issues and seems like she's on PMS or whatever. Well, I wouldn't really say that, because as much as I can talk a bunch of smack to those in the Mighty Morphin crowd of the fandom, as much as I've said, I hate Tommy, he's overrated, or, I hate the fact that every time when it comes to Tommy, when they think of Tommy, they see him as the original Green Ranger and not the White Ranger, or Zeo Ranger 5, or Black Dino Thunder, or I just don't like it when, people talk shit about Adam, Aisha, and Rocky, because or whatever, or, why did Catherine, replace Kimberly as the Pink Ranger stuff, or why the Rangers of Aquitar is there, why is Ninjor sounding like Marvin the Martian, or whatever other criticisms or crap like that in terms of Mighty Morphin. So yeah, because when I think about some of those things, it makes me wonder why exactly? Why are you going to go ahead and criticize me because I'm a fan of the season? Well, again, state what you want about the series. I mean, you're free to have your opinion on the series, and whether if you're not a fan of it or what. I understand, but you have to realize I've been a fan of this season because of the things it did. Sure, yeah, the Charlie Brown, Ranger suit thing may be bothersome, but it didn't bother me as much when I was a kid. But it can get a little bothersome when I look back at them so many times as an adult. So it's like, the Galaxy suits could have been a better aesthetic than the Charlie Brown stuff. Keep the white, but do a different aesthetic to it, or something like that. But I still like the helmets. So that's one thing. So anyway, so the remake, there are some things I will do with this and some things I will not do with it. I'll tell you about the do's about this film that I'm going to do with this movie first, before I go ahead and talk about the don'ts and what I will have and what I will not have, what I will attempt and what I will not attempt. So let me do all of those right now. The do's are, the film will be a continuation of my first Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film. This movie will include lots of character development, instead of mostly a lot of action. So much for you, Megaforce. There is going to be something about this film, something else I'm going to add to it in terms of the do's. Let's see. There's going to be some better improvements on the visuals, in terms of green screen and everything else. I will, for some occasions or most occasions when I have the character puppets around on screen or whatever, I'm going to do ADR voice work for the first time, because usually when I was doing these movies originally, I was just mostly with the puppets actually talking. But of course, how I am with the female characters, I suck at doing a female voice. This is why I have to use a modulator, or some terms of a pitch shifter on, like, say, Sony Vegas to pitch shift my voice to sound female. So that's why. But luckily, with that voice changer app that you saw off my vlog that I showed you, which voice changer app I have, I can do a female voice. I just have to record my voice, in terms of the original tone. Then I have to amplify it to sound female if I'm doing the voice of, let's say, the Pink Ranger or the Yellow Ranger or Trakeena, and there you go. So that it wouldn't have to be such a problem for me to when I do these characters on camera first, and then forget, like, I should use the voice changer app and just, even with the footage rolling on Sony Vegas or whatever, I can go ahead and record the dialogue, but I just got to write down the dialogue first on, let's say, pieces of paper, or I can type the dialogue up on the computer, so that way when I do post-production, I can go ahead and, post-production on this movie, I can go ahead and record the voices and alter the pitching of the voices and the dialogue, or even alternate the dialogue a little bit if I have to do alternative voice takes. Much like how voice actors like Tara Strong and Jess Harnell and whoever else would do, Tom Kenny and all those other voice actors, and how they do it. In cartoons like, Dexter's, like Powerpuff Girls or SpongeBob SquarePants or Adventure Time or Ninjago or shows like that, or Teen Titans, in those similar ways like that, or Justice League or Batman the Animated Series. So I think it's worth it for me to do the puppet filming and Zord footage and stuff first, and then after, when I have all the footage together and complete, then I can go ahead and do the voicing and then do the sound effects, the special effects, and then the soundtracks. So that way I can just not have such a bull rush time, just try to put everything as much as possible together, and then the movie's turns out like the first movie, a mess. Yeah, since of course I also have to improve on my usage of the green screen. So whenever I have to chroma key scenes for this movie with the green screen, I'm going to need much lighter. So it seems like I need to put as much light in front of the cameras and stuff as much as possible, so that way the movie can be fully lit up, instead of being half dim and half lit up at the same time. Because I felt this was one of the few criticisms I had personally with my first movie, why I've had such a mixed feeling with it, is because the lighting to the first movie was so dim, the green screen effects were just a turnoff. They were just not well lit up. That's why I think I need to improve that, aspect with my new film and as well as my next one. There will be something. Here's something that a lot of people were wondering when it came to my first movie. In terms of the Megazords. Now, I know I've already gotten the Toro Zord and the Stratoforce Megazord just over 2 years ago, and I just recently it took me all year long to get the other Zords for the Galaxy Megazord, since the Lion Galactazord was not going to sit there for so long, for 2 years. Now 3 years at this point. There will be Megazord battles. So something to make this more Power Ranger-ish, I got to have the Megazords. Yes, there is one thing I've missed out for the first movie, because I told you guys back 2013, over 3 years ago, I didn't have the money to go on eBay or whatever to get pieces of, the Galaxy Megazord and the other 3 Zords from Lost Galaxy, and it was just hard for me to do. So luckily on eBay, I finally got all the other Zords for the Galaxy Megazord, but the Condor Galactazord, the only part I have of him is the main part, which is the torso, the main part, which is the wing part, which is the Galaxy Megazord's back piece with the wings and the Condor's head in the back. But it's just, I'm missing his torso, which includes his big bird beak feet, gold bird feet. That keeps the Megazord stable. Yeah, because throughout last year on eBay, when I did my Galaxy Megazord recollecting hunt, I had to have a hard time trying to get the pieces to the Condor Galactazord. I got the wings, it's just I'm missing his body, the rest of his body. I was trying to see what seller on eBay would have the whole Zord, or just the Zord separate from either one part being the wings alone, or the other part being just the torso and feet alone. So it seems like it's going to take a while for me to do the Megazord battles. I'll just have the Toro Zord. I'll just have, for this movie, have the Magna Defender bring out Toro Zord for some of the fights, and for the time being, to get the other parts of the Galaxy Megazord. Oh yeah, and also the fist piece for both for both arms, or just one arm, since it would have been fine years ago if I still had the entire Megazord where it was, until back when when my dad was around, when he was alive, he would have me and my brother to sell all of our old toys that was in our old house's basement, and donate all that stuff to the Goodwill, and that really made me mad. Thus, some of the toys I've had from past Power Ranger seasons prior to Wild Force would be sold, and boy was I pissed. So this is why so many years later on eBay, I have to see who's selling them cheaper because I don't want to go overboard because no, I don't have 40 or 50 or 60, $65 to buy just one Megazord part or something from a Power Ranger season because doing that, when you have something this rare and out of production, mint condition stuff, like this, Bandai doesn't make this stuff anymore because these toys were years old. And when you sell them for, let's say 10, 20 some dollars, it's like, for someone who had it at first and donated it for no purpose, and then when you see it somewhere else sold on, like, say, eBay or an antique store, you're going to say, like I've been saying, you wish you had that thing still, but now all of a sudden you want to get it again after so many years of getting rid of it. So, yeah, it was pretty much of a staggering problem with me with the Galaxy Megazord. Now the Centaurus Megazord is even a more uphilling battle to get the rest of the parts. I only have from one seller was the legs and the waistline of the Centaurus Megazord, including the head part being the bonus part to him. Now all I have missing for Centaurus is the torso and his arms and his battle helmet. The only thing I'm missing from Stratoforce Megazord is his battle helmet. So so Stratoforce is fine. It's just I just need his battle helmet. That's all I need. Torozord is fine. Doesn't need no other parts because Torozord, when I got him off Amazon for $35 back in 2014, he was just totally complete the way he was. Although it's missing one piece of his battle axe, but or battle spear, if you will, Magna Spear, but that's fine. I guess my Torozord doesn't need a weapon. Moving on. I may try to attempt doing stop motion in this movie, mostly for the Megazord battles. But when you have the Ranger and villain puppets, I know here's another problem. What some people criticized about my first one. The many times they've seen my hands in front of the camera, because you see, look, I never even attempted to make things professional. You see, do you people want me to end up getting this movie involved in copyright infringement by Saban? Like, I'm making this completely professional. Fan films are meant to be immature-ish, not to be all over the top, high-techly, professional like most fan films. Like a lot of, Batman fan films, Star Trek fan films, Star Wars fan films, Halo ones, Battlefield, Call of Duty, and all of those other fan films, Pokemon, for crying out, hello? So why do you want me to do a Power Rangers fan film like as well as for all the other ones out there to be more, highly professional looking, even especially like that god-awful Power/Rangers short film, which I still utterly despise from Joseph Kahn. Even though, yeah, that was highly professional, but I still hated that short film. Even still, it's been over a year now since Power/Rangers came out, and I still hate that short film for what it did. So I just want to keep this movie low profile as I can without getting involved with copyright and stuff. Because fan films are meant to be, amateurish and not made for profit. Some may want to do it for profit because they want to be exactly like the content's original creators. I get it. If you want to do highly concept films fan films on a budget, like if you're doing a Batman fan film or Star Wars one, feel free to do that, but don't try to make it, almost, identically resembling the original content that was done by, let's say, Warner Brothers or Lucasfilm, because then they will chase you, hunt you down, shut your YouTube account down, shut your movie down, and you won't be able to you won't do fan films anymore. So that's why you'll have to, create your own movies, not based on intellectual property, and then, I know how that is. So, and I figured that's exactly what happened to the MMPR fan film, the one I bashed a few years back. Until I had to open up years later what happened with the MMPR fan film, that Power Rangers, dark, gritty Power Rangers fan film that was supposed to come out 2013 or 2014 that everyone kept talking about. And you know what happened in terms of the fate for that fan film? It never actually made it, to be completely made and to be shown on YouTube so everybody can comment, like, and everything. Even there was other Power Ranger fan films that had trailers of but were never made into. There was a Power Rangers in Space fan film devoted to the Red Space Ranger Andros, Only a trailer was made, but not a film. But it said coming soon. But like, how long is it going to be soon, or you're not going to make it at all? Even the Power Rangers fan film March of the Dragon, which was a Mighty Morphin, of course, Green Ranger devoted film. There was a trailer of that, but I have never heard of anything about release date or when it was coming out. Then all of a sudden, when it came to my fan film of Lost Galaxy, I've made multiple trailers, had the movie out in its rarest form, and of course, people complained, some say it was, of course, a South Park parody of Lost Galaxy, but I know how that was in terms of that criticism, and I know it wasn't great. It wasn't the best of my efforts, I know. But with this new movie, regardless, I'm still going to use the puppet, the character puppet aesthetic and everything, but I'll try to take as much seriousness as possible. Now let's talk about the don'ts I will do not for this movie. Like most of the majority of a bunch of movies I've seen, trailers and such of, from the following major film Hollywood studios, like Fox, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. My next Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film, as much as I really want to go dark and gritty with this one, and I know many of you don't want a dark, gritty Power Rangers. Now, like I said before about that Power/Rangers film, as much as I hated that short film, I am not doing a dark, gritty, R-rated version of Lost Galaxy. Because otherwise, a lot of you guys would hate me for this if I went rated R Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, where there is many character deaths, blood everywhere, blood squibs, and characters popping pills, or characters having sex, like let's say the Green Ranger having sex with Trakeena as a little unnecessary nod to Reggie and Amy's marriage or whatever, and like having a threesome or whatever, or the Rangers using lots of profanity or whatever for those means. So basically, I have to admit, I had to look back at my first Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film, and as much as I said I promised everyone a darker Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film, I actually had to stay in touch with the show's campiness. Why do you think the dialogue I said in the film, the first movie, with all characters, felt very campy, even though it was kind of monotone and boring, but that's Power Rangers. It's supposed to be one-dimensional campiness. Everything's supposed to be over the top. Everything's supposed to sound over the top. So I kind of did good with the first one with that, but when I look back at it, it's like, it wasn't in the best of efforts. Maybe everything I've done was completely wooden compared to Megaforce in terms of its wooden acting and shit. And Super Megaforce with all the laziness that abounded to that. So I think I need to keep my film in the same tone as Power Rangers overall. Don't make it as dark, because a lot of people don't want a dark Power Rangers. And I bet Lionsgate's new Power Rangers film, once when I see a trailer for that and when the movie comes out, I can see if it's going to be a dark Power Rangers movie that Lionsgate is doing. Because let's face it, I mean, everyone who grew up with the franchise pretty much wants a darker version of the franchise now. They want to keep. I understand everybody wants to keep up with, wants Power Rangers now to keep up with today's times, especially with today's movies, where everything is dark in tone and consistence and substance. But I really don't think doing my version of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy as a fan film trilogy should be dark. I don't want to try to make it too dark, otherwise people are they're not going to be interested into it. So I have to keep it in consistence and in tone with its overall substance from, making it very dark. Because this was one of the problems I had with that Power/Rangers film last year. In fact, when it premiered online on YouTube and Vimeo, that it was too dark. Sure, they assumed it to be a parody of what Hollywood would have done with the Power Rangers franchise if they were to do a dark, gritty, R-rated movie of it. But, I still hate that short film. So, I'll try to keep this film in the same tone as what Marvel is doing with films like Avengers Age of Ultron, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ant-Man, and even Thor. So I'll try to keep the tone of my next Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film like what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing. Make it less dark and possibly kid-friendly, but due to the fact that my script is loaded with a lot of dark character development, such as dealing with the loss and mourning and death of a fellow Ranger, like I seen in that webisode you guys saw when I killed off the Pink Ranger with the likeness of actress Katie Cassidy on it, if you saw it. That was some dark shit I did right there. And this was something I never did in any of my movies, where any of my Power Rangers Lost Galaxy or Power Rangers fan films, where I would ever kill off a Power Ranger. Ever. Well, at least I kind of did pay tribute to that moment of the death of the Pink Lost Galaxy Ranger thing, because it was a callback to what happened to Kendricks, and also the behind-the-scenes coincidence with Valerie Vernon when she was suffering from leukemia. Due to my nostalgia with Lost Galaxy, I had to pull that part off in one of those webisodes a couple weeks back last month. So that's why I did it as a callback. But it's just in parts of the don'ts again. I'm not going to do a very... I really wanted to do a darker sequel compared to a much lighthearted and goofy and blander first one. But I think I need to lower the tone of dark and gritty down a little bit, just like I did the first one. Because I was afraid to do a dark Power Rangers fan film of my own. Try to make it sound too like The Dark Knight, too much like let's say Terminator Salvation, too much like Michael Bay's Transformers plus the adult and unnecessary potty humor, and too much like any of those other dark gritty movies out there, Twilight for instance, Divergent, The Hunger Games, those movies. So I need to lower the tone of these movies down, or even what the recent live action movies that Disney are doing, that they did with the dark gritty tone, like Maleficent and Tim Burton's reimagining of Alice in Wonderland. So I think I need to tone down the dark and gothic aesthetic of this movie down. And I think due to the fact that I was more influenced by Tokuger and spawned some some influence from Tokuger, incorporating some influence and elements from it within a Lost Galaxy fan film, I said there are some elements of Tokuger that are dark that I wanted to use, such as the Red Ranger's rivalry with the Emperor Z. But you'll see when you see the film. So, or even about the overall gothic aesthetic of the villains. Why do you think I really liked the dad from Tokuger? So there was some dark, aside from all that goofy, cartoonish, lighthearted humor and stuff from Tokuger, there was some really dark and on the edge stuff in that series, in that Sentai alone. That's why I want to partially adapt Tokuger into this film within Lost Galaxy's era. Although Lost Galaxy is based on Ginga Man, but I want to inherit some element, make a hybrid of Tokuger. So, and a little bit of some Go Buster stuff here and there. But even though I never watched all of Go Busters, but I only knew a few parts of Go Busters and acknowledged what went in Go Busters, but didn't watch the whole series. So whoever tells me I should watch all of Go Busters before I do this, then I'll just skip the Go Buster stuff and go with the Tokuger stuff, since I've seen that Sentai more than Go Buster. And one of my following fans suggested to me when it comes to Trakeena's character in this movie, keep her exactly like her original counterpart, but just don't make her act like too sympathetic. Let's say like Loki from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including Thor in the Avengers. So I think, well, due to the fact time has changed, I really want Trakeena to keep up with the times, and the Galaxy Rangers keep up with the times, because if I keep them exactly how they were back when we saw them in 1999, then that's going to be like nostalgia overload. So this is why I have to keep up with the times and the consistency of the times. So that's what I got to do with this movie. I'm going to also not use that much profanity working on, when it comes to characters saying such in the movie. Whenever you hear the characters say the F word, the S word, most of that is going to be eliminated. Just, limit and reduce the amount of profanity in this film too, because as much as I've had such a sailor mouth throughout a lot of videos for the last almost near 600 videos now, I really think I need to stop the cussing when it comes to my videos and these movies in general. Because I've had people complain why they unsubscribe from my channel is because they know I cuss a lot. Because I want to express how I feel and, as I clarify and justify what I talk about and, throughout expression. Because there are some people that subscribe to my channel at first, and when they saw some of my videos where I had, profanity overload, they got so sensitive about it. That's why they left my channel, because knowing that Power Rangers, when have you ever heard a character in Power Rangers, like let's say Tommy or Andros or TJ or Corone or Carter or Captain Mitchell or Princess Shayla or whoever use profanity? None. Because Power Rangers is a kid show, and they don't use cuss words. The only time we've heard a cuss word from any character in the show or franchise overall was Divatox in Turbo Power Rangers movie when she said Hell's Bells, because that's the first and only instance we've ever heard a cuss word within Power Rangers. But that was just... I didn't catch on to that until years later watching the Turbo movie, hearing the word hell in a Power Rangers anything. But, the Power/Rangers film, for what it was, for its own R-rated, travesty and merit, they had to use profanity because they wanted because a lot of R-rated movies as we know them, they always you've always heard characters use the words, the F word and the S word in their movies. Because when you have an R-rated movie, even the action-packed, very gorish R-rated movie or a horror movie, you have characters cussing. And especially a lot of raunchy, sex-filled comedies nowadays that got cuss words like the F word and the S word in them. Because it's who the writers that they picked to write that kind of stuff is what made those movies deserve R ratings by the MPAA. So... And in terms of what I originally did over 6 years ago, now this is also, again, part of the don'ts I will have with this movie. I will definitely not bring up any references of what I did in real life with those that was involved when I did this movie and after when I had this movie until I was, I had to shaft it. And even talk about, and also bring up, I even dared to make a real life reference to what happened with me in reality recently into this movie about a restraining order or whatever. But I feel that should be revoked from the movie and omitted. I did had some plans, even though it wasn't written in the script originally, about Trakeena filing a restraining order against the Galaxy Rangers. In the whole, if the Lost Galaxy Rangers, step a foot near Trakeena, Trakeena will send special reinforcements and have the Power Rangers, obliterated and destroyed. But we know that, suppose if Trakeena did that in the TV series, but aside from her personal grudge against the Red Ranger, what if Trakeena had a, restraining order against Leo? Because as much as she hates him and unintendedly when knowing when she was with Villaback, she didn't witness the part about the whole Red Ranger destroying Scorpius part. She went through that motivation through Deviant in the actual series because, as much as I've known these characters. So I need to do something alternative and an alternative twist to that stuff what had already happened prior and try to tell it similar. So yeah, the whole restraining order stuff, I may do it, but unfortunately not happening. So I might, but it will not. I had it planned before filming, but it will not. So therefore, the restraining order stuff, only against Deviant. So the Galaxy Rangers, she's just going to destroy them just for the sake of destroying them, or even attempts to destroy them. Yeah, so there's something I need to do on that in terms of that. And I guess I really need to, go with that restraining order aspect, but because I wanted this movie to tackle on some facts of reality when it comes to domestic violence, domestic abuse, and the Red Ranger having a relationship with Trakeena when she's in her human form, not in her usual villain attire. But I was thinking about this, and if Trakeena was the one to be, because you see, in reality, when it comes to domestic violence, domestic violence doesn't have to, vary on who by gender. Even though, yes, a lot of women are always victims of domestic violence, but I want to see what it's like to have a man be a victim of domestic violence to a woman. Because, sure, the men are always the stronger, abusive aggressors, and the women are always the victims, who are frail and such. I want to see what it's like. It's due to the fact I have a strongerly built and an emotionally empowered Trakeena in this movie. I want to see what it's like for her to domestically abuse the Galaxy Rangers. I want to see what it's like to see Trakeena if she, pretend Trakeena is a real person, and those who are the Power Rangers, real people like me and all of you here too. If Trakeena was the one abusing, let's say, the Red Ranger or the Pink Ranger or the Green Ranger, she would definitely be so aggressive. She would give the Rangers much of an emotional and physical time, adjusting to the relationship she has with them, and knowing Trakeena and the Power Rangers are enemies to each other. She's evil and they're good, but can you just imagine Trakeena being this aggressive? And especially if she was in a relationship with just one Power Ranger. And she was this aggressive with, we know how she is with the Red Ranger. She hates the Red Ranger and wants to make him pay for destroying her father. But I just want to see what it's like to see Trakeena verbally or physically, emotionally abuse the Red Ranger. I know this may sound out of character for her in my re-envisioning, but I want to see what it's like tackling faces of reality. Lost Galaxy has faced some facts of reality about seeing the death of a Power Ranger. Time Force had something like this between Wes and Mr. Collins in terms of father and son relationships. And other facts of reality that Time Force tackled. Like, a friend you used to know who was dirt poor, and you have one person who is rich, sort of dynamic. So what's wrong? I can't do this in a Power Rangers fan film. I mean, Power Rangers have always been a kid-friendly show, but I know I may sound like a Joseph Kahn 2.0, but I don't want to be. I don't care for Joseph Kahn, or I'll never be like him. Or actually, I don't even want to be like him, because what he did with that Power/Ranger short last year, it pissed me off with what he was doing. I understand he wanted to do this to impress those. If this is how you want to see the Power Rangers, in a way of how Hollywood would have done it, in a dark, gritty, R-rated such fashion again, if this is what people, as much as people wanted a darker Power Rangers movie. But I can see if I were to do a darker Mighty Morphin movie, like a lot of people in the Power Rangers fandom tends to do films of more, because it seems like whenever you go with Mighty Morphin for a fan film, it seems more easier. When you do other seasons, it's like, screw them. So it's like, it makes me think, you just really don't want to do. I really want to do a darker movie, but I realize I need to lower that dark, mature tone down, because that's not Power Rangers. I mean, sure, in Space, Lost Galaxy, and Time Force, and RPM have handled mature stories. Oh yeah, and Lightspeed Rescue and Wild Force the same, so there you go with that. But I don't want to make Power Rangers, the way how I do it, too dark. Because if I do it too dark, then that's not Power Rangers. It'll be like, I don't know, what the hell is this? Is this a Power Rangers fan film or a fan film of something else? Like, let's say Halo or Max Payne or Tomb Raider. Because look at most of the video games and TV shows nowadays. A lot of TV shows and video games nowadays are more mature driven and reality driven than fantasy driven now. I mean, I guess, since we're in an era where it's Obama and stuff, and reality shows like The Kardashians, it seems that we need to, stick into that jive and that aesthetic with movies, TV, and video games and stuff now, where everything has to rely on reality and less on fantasy. Because when you wash, fantasy wash away the stuff that makes things look like a fantasy think piece or a sci-fi think piece, and then you replace it with a brooding, dark, gritty, dramatized think piece. That's not what the film is, because that's going to take away all the fun. I mean, the fun and the energy out of the movie if you're going to make this into a brooding think piece, like Ang Lee's Hulk, for example, or Superman Returns. So you don't really want this. I really don't want to make this movie dark and gritty, because if I do, this will end up being one of the worst Power Rangers fan films, or worst Power Rangers anyone in the fandom, or even those who are not fans of Power Rangers, has ever seen. Because bad enough, look at my current reaction after over a year now with the Power/Rangers film. When I saw it, and when I saw what went into that movie with its 14-minute time, I absolutely hated it. I absolutely hated every single minute of that film. From the opening sequence with the whole Megazord getting decimated by some Transformers-looking thing, to Zack killing a bunch of North Koreans, and Jason getting killed off, first character to be killed off in the film by FBI or whatever, Billy committing suicide, and whatever else, Zack having sex with two actresses that assumed to be Divatox and Scorpina, and are topless, or whatever the deal is with that. So that's why I still don't like that film, and I don't think I want to do my next movie like this. So yeah, and then also the elements of my original attempt of Rise of Trakeena from 2010 to 2011. There is some elements that I will carry from the original, but not a lot of them. Because when I did this film in the past, it was hard, really hard for me to do. And I don't want to go back to the original all the way again, going to elements that would have worked, could have made it, and made the movie come off as a unsuccessful, unmade failure. So I advise keep 1 or 2 or 3 elements from my original, but just don't take a lot of it, because then it will bring back stressful and traumatic memories I've had when I worked on it back in high school, and when I worked at it at my old home, and when I was, struggling with it. So therefore, actually, I should just let go of the original and just don't bring up stuff from the original for the new movie, because otherwise that would bring me too much traumatic pain. Bad enough it already did. So those are some of the plans I have for the Power Rangers Lost Galaxy: The Rise of Trakeena fan film remake. So what do you guys think of some of these plans? The do's and don'ts I will do for this movie while I proceed on production on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Drop likes, comments, and such. Subscribe below and all. And I'll see you guys when the movie is done. But till then, more webisodes ahead, and preluding, and some that will be filler, not preluding to movie events. So there you go. Anthony Mars Jr. on PR, Lost Galaxy 2014. Thanks for watching.